Okay, now we're recording. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining me. This is Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. Nice to have you as we talk tonight about the cycles of the planets, especially the planet Uranus. Now, before I get to that, I want to let you know. All right, we'll take care of that. All right, now, I want to let you know the next couple of weeks we're changing things around. For those of you thusly inclined, we're going to do something next week that I did in 1984. We're going to allow you to complain about signs that you don't get along with. That's what the show is going to be about. Your opinions about signs that you have difficulty about. I'm not going to judge you. You don't have to do it. You can talk about signs you like. You can talk about why do these certain people always have this quality about them, and we'll hope to be a learning experience. And when I did it in 1984 on the radio, I had people send in postcards with their birth data, and I picked out the most Sagittarian of the Sagittarian and the most Virgo of the Virgos, and I invited them. We had an astrology roundtable, and we had 14 people in the little radio studio. We called each other by our sun signs. And we talked for 2-3 hours about why one sign has a tough time with that sign. So I thought it's kind of good. It brings it to the people. Then next week, the week after that, 2 weeks from tonight, my partner Liza Jane Brown has been working hard. She's going to. I think it's a good thing for her, having just retired. She's going to be talking about 44 years being an astrologer, and when the planets hit her, what happened to her. And that's the best way to learn astrology, is to watch what happens to people when the transiting planets hit their current planets. So we're in for a treat, and I'm going to be the interviewer, and she's going to be the interviewee. And then, well, that's 2 weeks from tonight. Next week is the signs you don't get along with very well. Okay, tonight we're going to talk about cycles. It's really, really important. Now, everything in astrology has cycles. Everything in life has cycles. But we get confused. We talk about the Saturn return. We talk about Uranus, opposite Uranus, midlife crisis. But we get out of sync with what they are. Now, if you take a look at this one graphic, this one here, okay, all things have a cycle, and everything in astrology, this is the start-finish line in astrology, the start and finish line. It's always over here at your 9 o'clock. This is called the first house. That's called the 12th house. First, second, third, fourth, etc. 11th, 12th. Everything starts there. When two planets are together, they're joined there, and then they open up. The faster moving planet moves to here, slower moving planets back there. And that's called the opening square. The first time, I got to do it right because everything's backward on your screen. The first time the planets separate and they square each other. Oh, a square is at a right angle. Then, depending on the planet, they get to the opposing point. Then they get to the closing square, then the completion of the cycle. Now, we don't notice this very often, but this is the reason that you have 90-day trials at work. Because the sun, after 90 days, has gone from where it started into its opening square. Now, when you have an opening square, you pick up qualities from what's called the mythical 10th house. First house, 10th house, it goes backward. The 10th house is that right? No, I'm going backwards. See, it's got me messed up because I got to go backwards. The opening square is at the 4th house, okay? The 4th house is the emotional Cancer house. The 7th house is the Libra house. The 10th house is the closing square of the business square. So anyhow, that's why at 90 days of the cycle, you get tested. If you're looking at Saturn, Saturn squares itself every 7 years. It's opposite itself at 14. It's 3/4 the way around at age 21. It completes its cycle at age 28. That's why you have a Saturn return. With the planet Uranus, who's 7 years per sign, Uranus goes 7 years through the first quadrant, 7 years through the next quadrant, 21 years until it squares itself in the opening square. So what we're looking mainly tonight is not the 7-year cycles. We're mainly looking at the 21-year cycle. So if you take a look at Uranus stages, you see that Uranus starts here. It opens up to its opening square at age 21. It gets halfway around, why they call it the midlife crisis, at age 42. It gets 3/4 the way through at age 63. It completes itself when aged 84. Now, I want to remind you of something. If you go to YouTube and type in Rick DiClemente Uranus stages, you'll see a video I made 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I think it's 7 years ago. I was just experimenting with the lighting at that time, so the lighting looks different. It's a 25-minute video that explains each of the Uranus 21-year stages. The opening 21-year stage at age 21, the midlife crisis at age 42, the second midlife crisis at age 63, and the completion of the cycle at age 84. It's a very good video. It's been viewed a lot. The lighting's not really good because I was just starting. Tonight is largely going to be a repeat of that, but I think you're going to find some new things in it. Now, if you go through Astrology Unplugged, this will be version like 216 or something, another one of the episodes of that series. Now, all right. There's a difference between a planet in relationship to itself and a planet in relationship to your birth chart. In other words, at age 7, everybody has Uranus at the opening square. I'm sorry, at age 21. At age 21, when you're comparing where Uranus started from, Uranus has gone 1/4 through its orbit, 1/4 through its 84 years. All opening squares are at age 21, and they all have a connotation of the home or the 4th house, because it's just getting to the sector of the chart that's called the 4th house. That's different than how Uranus is affecting your birth chart. Uranus could be going through your 11th house, it could be going through your 8th house, it could be going through your 3rd house. That's different. Those are two different things. We're talking about how is it doing within its own orbit. Okay? So all planets, Chris East Coast hasn't been around in a while. She hasn't. All planets have relative positions to where they started from. So to show you again on this, on this, to share this screen. Okay. When you were born, Uranus is right there for everybody, because we were looking at just Uranus. And when you're going to examine a planet, you put it right here. 7 years later, Uranus will be here. 7 years later, it'll be here. 7 years later, it'll be here. At age 21, this is the reason it's so crazy. At age 21, it's so liberating. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be both. Now, first thing to talk about is, what does Uranus do? Uranus is the planet that it rules Aquarius. It's the planet that can't stand staleness. It wants to break things up and make things new and fresh again. Now, usually you have one of two reactions when Uranus is active in your chart. You're either totally full of chaos and things are going nuts, and you're beside yourself and you're pulling your ears out, or you're having fun and you're going with the flow and things are breaking loose, and it's a good time because you're breaking free of the old standards. So it's up to you how you deal with it. The planets don't come by and cause you to have chaos. Chaos is caused by rigidity. Chaos is caused by new energies trying to get through and they can't get through because they're blocked by rigidity. Now, likewise, on the other end, you've seen some people that are all the time, and they're flipped out all the time, and they've got too strong Uranus. It's just too strong in their chart. And it's just always active, and it's always making their light bulb go off and on, and you get frenetic energy. It's hard to be around them. That's somebody with a rare Uranus energy that's just out of control. Now, you'll notice when Uranus is getting to the first 21, when Uranus is getting to the first 21 years of your life, it goes through 7 years in the first house, and it goes through 7 years in the second house and the third house. I know houses are very confusing to explain to people. They're just relative positions, all right? The first 7 years in the first house, what's happening to you? You're developing yourself. You're developing your independence. By the time you're 7, you're getting pretty independent. The next 7 years are about your money and the things you own and your stuff. But really what they're about is your self-image, how you feeling about yourself. So we can see that through age 7 through 14, very critical years for you, how you feel about yourself, very formative years. The next 7 years are really critical also. 14 through 21, those are the years where your mind is getting developed. It's going through the third house. Everybody's third house, Uranian third house. Everybody's Uranian third house is about the mind, the computer software, how your brain works. Well, look at all the stuff you go through from age 14 to 21, a tremendous stress on the brain. You're learning at a fast rate, keeping those pencils sharpened. Now, when Uranus, so you can itemize what Uranus is doing per house, but that's not what tonight's about. Tonight's about the 21, the 42, the 63, the 84. Okay. Since Uranus for everybody is at the fourth house, the Uranian fourth house, when they're 21, this has nothing to do with Uranus and where it is in your birth chart. It might be up here in your birth chart. It might be over here in your birth chart. It might be down here. That's comparing Uranus to your natal ascendant. That's different. This is a comparison to Uranus from where it started. Now, at age 21, you notice it's coming from the bottom of the chart. And this is the fourth house in astrology. This is the Cancer house. Okay. Now, take what Uranus does, which is to break free for own independence. So what happens? This is the common period at age 21 where you break loose. I can't stand living here anymore. I don't want to hear your restrictions anymore. I'm going to go get drunk now. I'm going to go get my own apartment now. I'm going to get my own fast car. It's a wild time. This is what happens at 21. Now, some people handle it smoothly. Some people don't. And I know a poor guy. Oh, God, this is so sad. I know a poor guy in Pittsburgh who keeps coming to see me year after year after year. And he must be 50 now. And his dad was so repressive of this poor kid, nice kid, that every time he went to a Sagittarian gateway, he went to a Uranian gateway, he never made it. He couldn't do it. And when you go through a gateway, you can't do it. You can't do it because you can't do it. Because his father just compressed him. Whatever. But this guy's just really messed up. And he just can't handle any kind of change. And he's in his 50s and still delivering pizza. It's just very, very sad. He comes to me and I try to help him, and there's nothing I can do because it's a karmic thing between him and his dad, and that's how it goes. 50 years of age, he still has to get permission to put a poster in his room. Very sad. Anyhow, at age 21, the normal person starts to break free. Now, Uranian times are always this. They're always sudden. They're always quick. It happens fast. One thing happens, your whole life is changed forever. That's how Uranus works. Now, if you've ever had difficulty getting used to my energy, which I can understand, I'm born with the sun opposite Uranus. Being an astrologer is not a Capricorn thing. I'm born with the sun opposite Uranus very closely. So I'm bombarded all the time by this Uranus energy, which is why I can calculate charts so quickly and do it all that. But that's what Uranus energy is like. Where's he coming from? He's coming off the wall. That's how Uranus works. It's very quick. So at age 21, the planet opens up to its opening square. And at age 21, you are tested. What are the tests of Uranus? Always at age 63, at age 42, whatever it is. Uranus always tests you as to, are you able to be yourself? And that sounds like a glib little simple question, but it really is a very heavy question. You wouldn't believe how many people I have in my 60s. I have them in my readings in their 60s, and they still haven't been themselves. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. They're fighting dad's fight, they're fighting mom's fight, they're fighting all this programming, they're fighting this karma, they're doing blah, 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 blah. But they're just starting. You wouldn't believe how many people around 63 just start to live for themselves. I've been raising all these kids all this time. I've been taking advantage of all this time. Blah, 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 blah. Well, damn it, I'm going to start living for myself. It's really, really common. Now, it's so common. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to take a little side road for a second. I told you about 2006, we discovered 80 new planets. It's a big deal. 1700, one planet. 1800, one planet. 1900, two planets. 2000s, 80 new ones, including Eris. And how that indicates that the human mind is jumping exponentially in terms of its ability to believe and entertain these extraordinary outer energies, which is one reason things are so crazy. I think there's another one out there. Now, I've been studying 8 or 9 other ones beside Eris, and these 8 or 9 other suspects don't have what I'm looking for, because I'm feeling, how do I say this? When I neared 2005, 2006, when Eris was discovered, in the last 10 years, I've been very unsatisfied. I've been writing a lot about what Pluto does. And I got to the point where I couldn't write anymore about Pluto, even though Pluto's still active, because I sensed there's a different energy. And finally, somebody got to me, thank God, 3 or 4 years ago and convinced me that it was Eris. And I've been blabbing about Eris ever since, because it's definitely Eris. And what's going on now is Eris and Pluto are squaring each other. That's the big stuff. What that means is the whole entire Earth is going through a massive identity crisis as a oneness, as an anima mundi, as the planet itself. We're going through a massive era change, and we're having a hard time keeping up with it. We're trying to. I'm telling you, there's another one out there. I don't know who it is. Speak male or female, I don't know who it is. I'm going to find it because I can feel it. And this planet is a planet of, do your thing. There's nothing stopping you. That's what this planet's about. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure it's one of the 80. I don't know where it is. It's probably really far away, but it's becoming prevalent now. Okay, now, when you get to 21, you can see this coming on when they get 18. We had all our laws set up about 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 is a really dangerous age, because all of a sudden you get to Uranus square Uranus. And planets, when they square each other, meaning they square the position where they started from, can be really volatile. And the more you have suppressed your individuality, Tiger Woods, the more reckless you're going to have it. And the Uranus rules what part of the body? Between the knee and the foot. So there's no doubt in my mind. I showed you Tiger Woods' chart a couple of weeks ago. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care how many entertainers he talks to. I don't know how many models he dates. He is struggling with allowing the real Tiger to come out. And that's why he had Uranus. He had Uranus opposite Uranus during that wreck. That's what caused it. Now, from advanced astrology, I know it's Uranus. I knew it was Uranus right away because it's the lower leg. If it was the knee, it would have been Saturn. If it's the foot, it would have been Pisces. It's the lower leg, it's Uranus. Uranus is always a crisis of individuality. I'm not letting the individual out. What does that mean? It means in transpersonal astrology, the inner self says, I want to go do this. And the outer self says, shut up, get back down. Versus, I want to go do this. And the adult says, I don't see any problem, let's go. So it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what astrology is all about. The inner self says, I want to go do this. What does the boss say? What does the adult say? Oh, you can't do this because good girls don't do this and nice guys don't do this. And you back down to shh. Or, well, let's go. Or a third possibility, well, hell yeah, let's do it. Whoop you do in the lasso. You know, you're too wild. So at age 21, what happens with most people is they come out, they get an apartment, they have fun with their friends, they start drinking, they drive a little bit too fast. You're most guaranteed during those times to have a few more accidents, hopefully not too bad. And your accidents are directly proportional to how much you're repressing yourself. In Tiger Woods' case, it sure looks like his career's over. That looks like a big deal. His bones, some of his bones were shattered into pieces. Sad. But to most people, they may have a little bump on the ankle, a twist of the ankle. See, Uranus is one of these planets. One of the things about Uranus, it's a couple of things about Uranus. Uranus it spins through space like the other planets do, but it doesn't spin, it rolls. It rolls through space. Okay? Uranus is always a weirdo. It rolls through space. It always happens suddenly. It's always explosive. But one of the things about it is it's always when it's exact. This is the planet when it's exact, is when the event's going to happen. Pluto within a week, within a month, Saturn hitting Saturn within a week, within a month, within 10 days. Okay, Venus, same thing. But Uranus is usually that day. And I've told you of situations where I told people things would happen 3 months ahead, and it happened one day off. So at age 21, you are challenged to break free from the home. Doesn't mean you got to go like that to your parents. Doesn't mean you have to tell them off, but it's a time for you to leave the nest. A lot of people think you got to leave the nest when you're 18. Well, you don't. Astrologically, you're not ready till 21. Most of us are still in college. We're just getting out. Okay, so you can see how Uranian it is. And Uranus is always about meeting other people, usually people much younger than you, usually people much different than you, usually people with quite different philosophies. So it's a very exciting time. I don't know about you, but my age 21 was just phenomenal, meeting all these people and doing all this great stuff. And we were fighting against the war, etc. in 1973. So think back when you're 21 and think of the people who are at age 21. What happens to them? What it really is a new shoot. A new shoot is coming through you. That's an individual. It's the real you. And it's different than the family. Now, if you can become who that Rick is and still keep up your relationship with the family, that's fine. Other problems can occur if the family tries to shove you back in the shoebox, shove you back in your old role, if you have trouble and guilt presented to you getting out. That's what astrology is all about. An astrologer is watching the map and the calendar of all these new shoots coming out of you, just consistently. Now, what I do when I read for people, I investigate. What did mom treat you like? What did dad treat you like? How supportive were they when they had to let their children grow up? That's what it's all about. So at age 21, and during Uranus times are when Uranus is on one of your planets, when it's hitting something critical in your chart, or when it's somehow symbolically related to itself. During a Uranus time, you're going to have a nutso time. It's going to be nutso. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. And this is not a time to settle down. You're just not going to do it. You're going to build a house of cards and they'll all fall down. You build a house of cards, they'll all fall down. The energies are not there. Okay. Now, if that goes on year after year after year, you got a different kind of problem. But Uranus is basically opening up and graduating from the nest. Okay. So we go grooving along. Most of us, what do? We kind of sail along till the Saturn returns. And a Saturn return is a different cycle. Saturn is every 7 years, 14 years, 21 years, 28. That's one Saturn cycle. Second Saturn return is another 28 years, age 56. Second Saturn return. Whole different issue because Saturn is a different energy. But in regular astrology, what you see is at age 21, the self comes out, and age 28, Saturn takes over. Because Saturn has returned back to where Saturn started from. So we see with Saturn starting here at age 7, at age 14, that's why it's so stressful, oppositions, when the cycle starts working, a planet starts like Saturn squares Saturn. This is why the 7-year itch in a marriage. This is why the 7-year challenge to a business. By age 14, 14 is a very tough age for kids. Saturn opposite Saturn, because Saturn's all about getting things locked down, making sure. And that's when you come out of your group where all the kiddies were walking around holding hands through grade school. And age 14, they got to start deciding what clique they're in. You're in that clique, I'm in that clique. And it can be very painful. That's what happens at 14. Then notice what happens. At age 21, you've got Saturn squaring Saturn. At the same time, Uranus is having its opening square. So Uranus is having its opening square, its first 21, while Saturn's now 3/4 the way done. And that's one reason that Saturn, that time, age 21, can be confusing. Because Saturn's saying, well, you're 3/4 the way around, and Uranus is saying, well, you're 1/4 the way around. And they're both happening, and they're both true. And they're both completely different kinds of energy. But usually they don't hit exactly the same time. So Uranus is wanting you to go out and sprout and try your thing. And I always get the image of Route 66 and the guy on the motorcycle, is going to live his second childhood. Then you got the image of Saturn squaring Saturn, which is getting serious. So then 28 comes. Saturn completes its first cycle. And this show is not about Saturn returns. I've got other audio videotapes on that. So what happens in the Uranian cycle? What happens in the Uranian cycle, okay, is by age 42, Uranus has now gone through the home or the feelings, the kids. It's gone through creativity. It's gone through the work environment. Now Uranus is opposite Uranus at age 42. Now, since Uranus is not a perfect circle, it's pretty close. It can happen at age 41, 42, 43. That's the midlife crisis. That's what Mr. Tiger just went through. And he obviously flew through it like a car going through the air, but he didn't fly through the transit very well with the wreck. The fact that the wreck did not kill him is a strong indication to me, after having done so many charts, that he got a massive warning. What's the massive warning? The warning is he was not misbehaving. That's the BS we carry. The warning is from the inside saying, whatever you're doing, Mr. Tiger, you're not listening to me. I want to be Tiger. I don't want to answer questions like my dad would, or my mom would, or what my agent says. I want to be myself. So I guarantee you that's what his wreck was about. And his wreck was severe to the point where he's probably going to lose one of the holiest things a person could ever lose, his phenomenal golf career, the status, the ability he had. So it's obvious what the planets are doing to him now. They're going to show to him, just like we saw with Steve Blass with his career. He's losing his professional golf ability. Now, can he resurrect it and salvage it through the ability to be Tiger Woods the person? Maybe even go by his real first name, which sure isn't Tiger. So at 42, what's happening? My other video shows it pretty clearly. At 41, 42, remember these planets don't combine, just hit. They go past, they click, they go back again, they click, they go back again, they click. And a transiting planet can hit you anywhere from 1 time, 3 times, 5 times, 7 times. Usually with Uranus, it's usually 3. Planet passes over that point, comes back over the point, comes back over the point again. At 42, what do you got? Since you've got an opposition, you naturally have a 7th house connotation. Since Uranus started here and it's now here, it's halfway through the zodiac. And that halfway point is indicated very strongly in our book about relationships. So what happens at 42 is Uranus take the words and put the words together. Separation, alleviation, getting free of relationships. Okay. Now, a lot of people find it to be a time of divorce. I see a lot of people that go for a job and they work somewhere 42 years. All of a sudden they quit. That's Uranus opposite Uranus. Uranus does not come say, boy, my marriage to Linda has just become unbearable this 41st year and I think I'll get out. That's not what it does. The right way to use the energy is, as you approach your 42nd year, you're going to start to feel unsatisfied. You're going to start to feel bored. You're going to start to feel restricted. Now, are those restrictions coming from inside? Usually. Or are they coming from my partner? 2 different questions. Now, you see the guy who wants to say to hell with everything and leave the family and get some shades and get on his motorcycle and head out Route 66. He's trying to reclaim that sense of being reborn, that second childhood. I told you about the guy I read for in Pittsburgh, 15 years ago. The wife calls me over. The guy's going through Uranus opposite Uranus. He's got 2 little ones. He's got the wife at home. And this guy, the rest of the chart wasn't too cool. This guy wants to leave the home, wants to dump the family, wants to be a state policeman in Nevada so he can wear shiny mirror shades and have a motorcycle. So that's what he does. And I said to him, goodbye. I said, how sad this is. How sad this is. And he did. He left his kids. He abandoned everybody, went out west. And I'm sure he failed. I don't know what happened. I'm sure he did because he wasn't doing things correctly. The correct way to handle Uranus time is to say, look, is this problem between me and my wife? Is this a problem I have with all my relationship? Do I think everybody's out there trying to hold me down? Do I have real problems that people did try to hold me down? So Uranus will help you if people are holding you down. It will help you get a grip on yourself and the courage and strength to get out, but it will also lie to you and convince you that they're the problem. Oh, if it just wasn't for them, they're holding me down. They're repressing me. So the guy didn't have to leave to go to Vegas. And I'll guarantee you in the long run, the woman's better off. Okay, so at age 42, because of the opposition, you have the natural pressure of relationships. So what you go through is, in all my relationships, am I being myself? Well, that's not an easy question to answer. That's not an easy question to digest. In all my relationships with the dog, with grandma, grandpa, girlfriend, in all my relationships, am I being myself? Am I being this phony? Do I have this phony image up? Which is usually the case with most people. So it's a time to correct it. And it's usually not corrected by taking a motorcycle across Route 66. That's called escape. And it usually has disastrous consequences. So you see what happens at 42. You're about halfway through life, although I find astrologically the halfway point in life is usually 63. It's not numerical, it's not 42, which is the numerical halfway point. Most people I know really liberate themselves around their mid-60s. They just failed enough at what they've tried. They're just tired of what people have told them. They're tired of what they're doing, this and that, and this and that. And they liberate themselves. A lot of times people at 60, they have to patch up the errors that they made at 42. So at 42, you're very prone to knee-jerk reaction, doing something radical, rash. Those are very Uranian things. So the proper way through age 42 is I'm going through, I'm growing older, I'm entering midlife, I'm going to examine myself. I'm going to say, boy, these are things I've been doing to hold myself down. These are things I've been doing to hold my wife down. These are things that these people have been doing, and I got to get that correct with them. And you correct these things. So you go on from 42 and into your richer adulthood, and you are more able to be the unique person that you are. Now, up comes age 63. Now, in the middle of this, okay, in the middle, here's Uranus, and it comes to 21. It goes to 42. In the middle of going towards 63, we do run into 51. That's another critical age, 51 and 58. 51 is because of Chiron returns, and 58 because it's your second Saturn return, which is about right here. But we're not going to get into that. So we've gone through Uranus, we've gone through our early years, teenage years, we've become an individual, gone out, got our own apartment, got our own job, we're free spirits. We move along, move along, move along. Then we get to a climax of how are we doing interpersonally? How are we doing? Are we able to be ourselves? Now, what happens is I do think, I've been giving this a lot of thought lately, I do think somewhere in this area, I'm not sure yet. This is the bucket list. I'm not sure exactly. I need to do more research on this area. But it seems to me like 63, it might just be the bucket list. When you're starting to sense 84, and 84 is sensed as closure, and you start making a list of Grand Canyon, and you want to fly in a hot air balloon, you want to skydive, you want to do all these bucket list things. I'm not sure. But at age 63 it happens again. But Uranus is squaring Uranus in the closing square, and this time it's coming from the top. Bottom, it comes from the family. Over here, it comes from relationship. Coming from the top, it's coming from the career. Okay, now, in the old days, a lot of people used to retire around 58, 63. Now things are different since companies own everything about us. Since they own us, we have to work to 119. So at age 63, it's pretty clear it's a second minor type of midlife crisis. Now, what I'm noticing, and I've been doing a lot of readings recently, I'm having so many people around 63, 64, 67, 61. I'm having so many people that are now liberating themselves. Now, I think part of that is what Eris is doing, because Eris is really not putting up with stuff anymore. Eris is just not putting up with the rules, and I think that's part of it. But I think 63 has a lot to do with it, because the Uranus is now going 3/4 of the way around, and it has to be compared to the natal Uranus. So, opening square, are you free from your family, or do they still call you Ricky? Are you free from your relationships, or are you, we're going to get to your chart, Michelle, about 9 o'clock, it looks like. So you better put your seatbelt on. Okay, the relationship turning point. Age 63 is me in the world. When I'm out in the world, when I'm in my job, the way the job sees me, the way my career sees me, am I able to be me? A lot of people quit because it's too 9 to 5. They can't be themselves. They don't like the steadiness of the paycheck, and the insurance payment has conned them for too many years. They want to start living. Now, there's every reason to think if you live properly, you can go through all these years fine. You can. But these are the peak years. These are the really big deals. These are the tremendous challenges. And when they're on you, they're very incessant. What do you think happens to an astrologer? You think they come to you the week before? Hell no. They come to you right when it's happening. Because people wait till, oh my God, what's going on? This can't get any more intense. And that's when they come to you. One of the reasons for this is yours is this powerful Tesla-like current that you have no control of. It's coming through you, whether you like it or not. You're connected to the universe. You've seen all the symbols of pictures of Tesla connected all these electrical vibrations through the air. Tesla was a master of Uranus and Pluto. When it comes through us, we think that normal days are normal days, the same old stuff, etc. And all of a sudden you start getting, this is how you feel normally, because this planet's coming through you. And I've told people many times, it's like going to bed with your finger in the 110, and you wake up and your finger's in the 440. And that's literally true. And you can't do anything about it except use it. You can use it, and you can foolishly try to repress it. And that's really dangerous. Okay. But it's not some energy that's from planet woo-woo. It's an energy of the real you that wants out. Now, the real you that wants out has two options. It's either got a pretty good history of wanting out, making your request up the pole, and the parent says, okay. Or you shout up the pole request, and the parent says, no, you can't do it. So that's the dangerous one. Because if you're used to repressing it, you've either got to get through it or face the cracks. Because that's what Uranus does. It cracks you. cracks in the sidewalk, cracks in your veins, cracks in your bones, Mr. Woods. One of the three. So at age 63, hopefully, it's not about whether you visited the Grand Canyon or not. See how we always make it exterior? It's always something outside of it. 63 is your final chance to correct the Uranian cycle. Now, finally, I can start living for myself. I've got so many people. It's been so good recently. In the past couple of weeks, I've got so many readings I've done for people that I didn't have to say much. They just knew they were done with it. They were just done with their stuff. They were done with it. Now, when Uranus hits you, one of the things it does, it makes you feel ready. It makes you feel ready. Not talking about it. You just feel ready. That's it. I don't have to decide, read about it, write down something. No, I'm just ready. You always hear about you're going to have it up to here. Well, Uranus isn't when it's here. Uranus is when it's here. Uranus is when it's there. And you've all known. So if you think back through your life, take a moment. Think about the friends you know at 21. 21's harder to see because everybody's nuts. 21. Think about people at 42. Think about what you did at 42. Think about what happened to you at 42, how sudden it was. Think about 63. These are the reasons why. Now, one of the things that's confusing about astrology is several of these cycles are taking place while other subcycles are going on. Uranus is going on while Saturn's going on, and Neptune's going on. And they get in the way of seeing the other one clearly. Okay, so the final stage, this is really intriguing, this one. The final stage is 84. Now, if you have an astute, clear-minded individual who's kept their faculties pretty good around age 84, you'll see one of two things. Well, you'll see one of three things. You'll see one, somebody who's just never required much of themselves. They've never really developed much of themselves. They're kind of dull, and things remain being dull. Part two, you'll have people who are aware, like Ram Dass died 86, like so many authors I've read at 84, they're just done. It makes you feel complete. You don't have to talk to somebody else about it. You just feel like you've done your thing. Joseph Campbell had a big turning point at that. Exactly age 84, John Paul II quit. Exactly. His body's all torn up. He's full of disease. He could barely walk much more. You could tell he wanted out of the body. That's the Uranian impulse to escape. 84 is critical. What happens at 84? But most people can't keep their faculties straight at this time and sense it. What happens is you sense that you're done. I'm done. Has nothing to do with anybody else. I'm just finished. Now, you can go past it. You can go on. You can do what you want. It's a very liberating time. But a lot of people will get the Nobel Prize at 84. They'll have miraculous things happen as a sense of completion to a very cognizant career, such as Jung. You'll see tremendous happenings with him at those ages. So the older you get, the harder it is to see these ages, these cusps crisply. It's just harder to see them. Now, you're not going to be forced out. You're not going to have accidents. Usually by 84, you sense that you are complete. You've done your work. David Hawkins is the author I was trying to think of. He wrote 8 books on psychology. He was a psychiatrist in New York City for 50 years, he conquered the Gemini mind, which is a hell of a statement. He figured it out, which is a hell of a statement. And right around 83, he said, I'm all done. That's it. Then he wrote one more. He put a cap on it. He was all done. And when he was done, he died a couple years later. He did not die. He left the body. He was just done. So you see, with all the Uranian stages, it has to do with the birth seed. What's in my seed? Who's really there? Who is that real unique Rick there? At age 21, I can look back and see the unique Rick was starting to come out, starting to separate from high school vibes, from the college vibes. You know, I was making movies at that time. I was doing documentaries. The real Rick was starting to come. I started to play guitar. Age 42 comes around, and I'm well married, and I got a young child, and I have to make modifications as to what I got to do with my work. 42 is a hard age to continue to be yourself because you usually have so many responsibilities. Up comes 63. 63 comes by recently, and I've had good luck in my 60s because I've been pretty much an individual all along, so it's not been too hard for me. Now, for you, as I get to Michelle, our new person from Pittsburgh, she'll come up here in just a second. If you're going through a Uranian time, the number one thing you got to do, you got to examine, did mom or dad or past life or whatever put a bunch of dogma on you about how you behave? You behave too wildly. Secondly, you got to look and see, how well are they doing? All the people giving you all the dogma, how well are they doing with their own dogma? Answer, not very well. Okay? Usually. Number three, what can you do to extricate yourself from these people politely, not in a vicious way? You know, get free of them, bless them, give them good luck on their trails. And Uranus is always about liberating you. And if you ever know a kind Aquarian, because Uranus and Aquarius is the same thing, many Aquarian people are just very, very kind. And take a zoom in and look. These people are, Liza Jane's one of them. These people are really tolerant of others, because Uranus is all about friends. They're almost better off with a friend than they are a lover, because friendship's so important to them. They're a real thing. But they're usually kind. They're usually not mean, unless something else happens in their chart. And they're very tolerant of other people's individuality. Now, the reason Fred Rogers talked about it, he was a Pisces, but he had a lot of Aquarius. And he talked so much about, there's no one like you. He was being very serious. You are very special. He was giving you a Uranian message with the Pisces love behind it. But that's what Uranus is about. Okay? So don't get confused. And another thing you must watch with Uranus, Uranus is the planet that will make you jump to conclusions, jump to some radical answer, you know, think, oh boy, I'll just sell everything, it'll be fine. Be real careful of drastic action. You and I'm watching TV and I'm watching different documentaries and stuff. You wouldn't believe how many people I know that they would have been different if they had an astrologer. Because when I read people's biographies, I have their chart there. And I'm looking and say, oh, this is what they were going through. And this is what they're misinterpreting. Oh, I see. Like, you think Van Gogh would have cut his ear off if he knew Saturn was on him the evening he did it? But things happen, right? And that's a whole nother lecture for one night. Uranus is astrology is really, really needed in the world. It's needed to be taught correctly. So before I get to doing our new Come Out of Nowhere Michelle chart, and she's certainly welcome. If you would like to ask a question pertaining to Uranus, the stages of Uranus, what you went through, the people you know, 21, 42, 63, I would be glad to address those questions. Oh, great, John, but you have to leave. Oh, John, we'll miss you. See you next week. Come back. Anybody got a question about Uranus? Oh, we got a Michelle has her hand in the air. Go ahead.
I do. So I get that how this kind of relates to us, but you know, where is Uranus right now in its cycle? Is like, where is it, you know, and like what's going on with
compared to what?
To itself. Like you at the beginning, you had said this.
The critical thing about Uranus is it's entered Aries. It went through Aries for 7 years, 10 years ago. And when it hit Aries, it started a new revolution. And now it is square to Saturn, almost exactly. And the misguided astrologers that think all this chaos is going on because Uranus is squaring Saturn, let me tell you, the charging of the capital was not because Uranus was hitting Saturn. It was because of Eris. It's because of really big, new, powerful energies. And the sooner astrologers realize that. Well, to answer your question, let's take a look at the zodiac for you, Michelle. Okay. There's Michelle's chart, which we'll get to in a moment. Okay, let me get up here. Okay, you can see now, right now, these are where the planets are. Here's a symbol for Uranus. It looks like a radar tower. Uranus went 7 years through Aries and the last couple of years into Taurus. So about 2011, I think it was in May, Uranus left Pisces, went into Aries. So you had a whole new zodiac. So Uranus now is squaring, it's in Taurus, squaring all the fixed signs, but it's squaring Saturn. See it? Saturn at 10, Uranus at 8. And a lot of people are flipping out, making a real big deal about this Saturn-Uranus square. Now, another thing you'll notice here on the daily routine, this is a big bucket. Look at the moon. Here we're getting this every month now. The moon soon is going to be over here in a couple of days, 2.5 days, 2.5 days, 2.5 days. In about 2.5 days, it's going to be here all by itself. All the planets and the moon. All the planets and the moon. That makes the moon extra moody, extra powerful. And we're all going to go through it, all 7 billion of us, for a couple of weeks until the moon gets over here and starts to return to the group. So until this Mars gets moving, we're going to have all these planets contained in a bucket and the moon going every month back to this moody position. But that's your answer. And in your chart, Michelle, may as well dive in. And I'm going to do your, I'm going to look at your harmonics also. Now I'm going to tell you, okay, good. Okay, here's Michelle's chart. All right. In your natal chart, you're born with a sun in Gemini. Usually folks that are Geminis do not come on this program because it's another interesting tidbit. You're on this program because the sun is opposite Uranus, right across the angles. These are called the 4 angles. They're really important. The 4 angles. That's the whole story in astrology. When your planets are found near the ascendant or the descendant or the midheaven or the nadir, they're a big deal. And the more I do astrology, the more I see it. And your sun and Uranus are not only opposite like mine go this way, yours go this way. So this is about a rather leonine type of person because the sun is so powerful here. Any planet near an angle gets emphasized. So your sun becomes very solar. So you're not real leonine, you're very solar. That means compared to most Geminis, got a moon in Cancer, most Geminis, you're very expressive and you're out there and you're shining and you'll go on stage and you'll sing songs. That's not a moon in Cancer. That's a sun being on the angle. And we see a very strong Mercury because Mercury's retrograde in your birth chart near the angle, and Uranus is very strong. So this is a person who's very scientific, very good with research, very good with planning, organizing. These are all principles that have nothing to do with Gemini. They're all principles you get from the angular Uranus. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things. I'm really glad you showed up because this is a nice chart. You got Virgo Rising. Now, maybe you don't know this, or maybe a lot of people don't know this. When you're born with Mercury retrograde, it can only stay that way for 21 years. Because Mercury, every 90 days, Mercury stops and retrogrades for 21 days. 90 forward, 21 backward. So we're going to see what age that Mercury changed by what's called a progression. So if we animate this chart, here's your Mercury retrograde, the red RX retrograde. We're going to step forward by days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, still are. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years of age. So around age 18 and you were born while Mercury was retrograde. It was retrograde and you were born. And then it went backward for another 18 days and stopped. Okay? So you'll also want to know, when did Mercury come back over that place? Okay? But as of age 18, I would think it means this. For you, things were a little bit much for you. They were too quick for you mentally, even with that strong Uranus. But around age 18, you started to get a grip on things mentally. 17, 18, 19. Really big turning point for you mentally. Because your Mercury stopped going backward, started going forward. And as it went forward, it was moving slowly and started to pick up speed for the rest of your life. So what happened to you around 17, 18, 19 mentally? You'll need to get, unmuted, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It really was a big change. I think I was feeling like repressed and making bad decisions, and started kind of getting that independence, or that maybe confidence to make my own choices, or to
That's
be
right, more confidence in the mind. Because Mercury is how the computer's running. And up until then, you're kind of not sure. What's it saying? You pull out the tape and go, what does this say? And as Mercury goes forward, for instance, you'll see people, the kid won't talk till he's 4. Well, Mercury goes direct at 4. Kid didn't feel like he had nothing to say. Of course, it can become more complex. But anyhow, you should be glad to know that your Mercury is direct ever since. Now, let's go back to your chart. Okay, as we've talked about on this show, this is no coincidence that Michelle popped up and she's getting her chart read. It means Michelle's ready for some major breakthrough, is what it means. You're near 40 years of age?
Correct. I'm 38. I'll be 39 this year.
Okay. All right. Well, you're starting into that Uranus opposite Uranus, and something major is happening to you, or you wouldn't be on this show, because on this show, your chart gets exposed. And when it's exposed, it's symbolic that you're ready to see stuff that you weren't ready before. Okay, let's see how that goes. All right. Now, all right, Michelle. All right. So we notice the sun is really strong, and I'm sorry, Oh, I got the wrong chart here. Wait, what am I doing here? It is Uranus, yeah. Okay, let me get this. Sometimes when you get too many charts, solar fire gets weird. Okay, you got the sun opposite Uranus. All right, now I'm going to tell you what that means. All right, I don't care if your moon's in Cancer or what. Sun opposite Uranus means this, and it's really true from the books. It means things happen to you very quick, and you're already a Gemini. You're the sign of quick messenger. Things happen to you really fast. Flashes come to you. You don't know where they come from. You change the subject, and Gemini is the sign of saying changing the subject. And all of a sudden, you change the subject. You're talking out here. People are saying to you, where'd that come from? Okay, you just switch real quickly because your mind is just really fast. Okay? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Which I thought so. All right. Sun, Uranus.
1000%, yes.
Okay, well, that's just you. Okay? People will just have to get used to the fact that you're just quick. You do things quickly. Okay, plus it's the Gemini thing. So you have the best of both worlds because the Gemini is rather shallow and it's exploring all these neat things that, oh, look at that, oh, look at this, look at that, look at that. But it's not making any implications. It's not saying because of this and because of this, you have that. That's what you get from Uranus. So you have the shallow and you've also got the depth, which comes from the Aquarian part of you. So that's the researcher. That's the deep looker. And people say to you, boy, I thought you were Gemini. I didn't think you'd be hanging around with these deep lessons. So you're able to do both. So you're a very cerebral person, which means to me in your choice of relationship, it will always be really a big deal that you pick somebody that can keep up with you mentally. Okay? Now, let's go back. Now, when Uranus is this strong, it's at 2 degrees and it's on the nadir. When it's this strong and it's wrapped around the pole, which represents your home and your emotional nest, there's nothing you can do about this. You're going to have emotional upsets that come from nowhere. They're just going to happen. You're going to be emotionally sailing along. Oh, all of a sudden the boat gets tipped over. It's going to just continually happen. That's just the nature of Uranus. Now, one of the things I do to try to ascertain if that's correct is I go look at the birth time. Look at that birth time. It isn't 1:10. It's not 1 o'clock. It's 1:11. So that means to me that somebody was really looking at the clock pretty closely. Now, when my child was born, I went in and the clock in the delivery room was off by 5 minutes, and my watch was in sync with the Colorado atomic clock because I was ready. So I changed the clock in the birth room 5 minutes because it was wrong. But when you see a time like this, the potential of it being accurate is probably within 3 minutes, which means that Uranus is pretty much, we know where it is, which means that its closeness to the nadir is really strong. Now, when you take your home life, this is the home area. We know you want to live near water because the Neptune is there. You not only want to live near water, you want to live where somewhere unusual near water. Okay, this is not San Francisco Bay or New York City. This is in the middle of some island in Fiji or something. You really want to live somewhere and you will live somewhere unusual. That's the Uranus. You will live somewhere unusual by water because Neptune is in Sag. It's very big and you see a lot of ships going by. This is a very nice symbol of a lot of spirituality. Now, I want to move elsewhere because there's a lot in the chart. All right. Now, you've got a crazy T-square all going to this moon. The moon is 24. What's close to it? Pluto's at 24. What's over here? 25. Okay, you have a massive T-square. Venus opposite Pluto, T-square to the moon. Again, 25 degrees, 24 degrees, 24.5 degrees. So the Venus-Pluto moon is critical. All right. It's not really a bucket pattern because you got one group and you got one group and you got the moon, but it's so volatile at the tip of this T-square that who cares? Now, thank God you got Virgo rising and your Saturn is relatively strong. Your Saturn is in the second house and it's square to the moon. So your Saturn keeps your feet on the ground. But more importantly, your Virgo keeps your feet on the ground. And what does Virgo say to me? The ruler of the chart is the planet that rules the ascendant. What's the ruling planet? Mercury or Chiron. So Mercury and Gemini. So what that tells me is you will probably end up in jobs that are very mercurial. You doing research, you talking on the phone, you being a representative, you exchanging, you representing your company. So what do you do mainly intellectually?
I'm an accountant.
Okay. Accountant is the Virgo rising. It is not you. It's the Virgo rising. And the Virgo rising is doing accounting because of why? Because you should. He's doing a nice accountant job because you should. It's very clear to me without a doubt that you're thinking about job change.
Yeah, I'm not working right now, although that is, something that I'm going to, return back to. And I think the accounting thing comes from the organization and the scientific kind of thing that we were talking about
Well, I think
earlier.
that's part of it. Well, we're going to go a little deeper. Now, look at this. Did you notice this? Your moon's a 24 cardinal.
Yeah. What
Pluto's,
does that mean?
Pluto's a 26 cardinal right now. Eris is at 25. You're getting hit by the two biggies. Pluto's opposite your moon. Eris is squaring your moon. So your moon, which is the ruling planet of your 11th house, is under tremendous pressure to change. So let's stop and take a minute. First of all, is your mother alive?
Yes.
What sign is she?
She's a Virgo, I think. September 19th.
Okay, so she's a Virgo. Your father is?
He's a Taurus.
Okay, all right. Your moon is in the 11th house in Cancer. That means you're very motherly to your friends. And you're really good to your friends. And your friends like you having you around because you keep their secrets. They like to talk to you about their intimate things. You have no problem with that. But that moon is getting hit by Pluto and by Eris. Now, a higher dimension of the 11th house is not about your friends. It's about your deep, deep wishes and wants. So that's why I think you're going to change careers, because you've got very powerful planets hitting that moon right now. And those powerful planets like Pluto, they make you want to mean more, to have more meaning in life. The problem with the moon will turn everything off if it thinks it's going to make it not safe. You got to watch the moon. It's a dangerous planet because it'll turn your whole Michelle-ness off by being safe. But with Pluto hitting it and Eris hitting it and some wild man astrologer hitting it real good over the airways right now, this is a main indication that your moon is ready to be hit. And the last voice you're going to want to hear about this job move is a Virgo voice. Because Virgo voice is going to always talk to you about what you should do, who's going to put the meat on the table, who's going to put the bread on the table, blah, 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 blah. And what are we talking to? We're talking to a Gemini Aquarian that wants to explore the world with all the worlds of all these facts and all these neat things you can do, because there's always somebody that can count beads. You see my point?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. All right. Now, before I get fanatical about your birth chart, let's go look in your past lives. I've lost my audience, but that's okay, because I'm watching and Erica's watching, and so is Linda, and the thousands of people in the Philippines are watching, and we'll just go look at the past life chart. Okay, here's your past life chart. It's what I call the spiritual transcript. This is not likely to get past your mother, but this chart is the history of your past lives. Not just one or two, but the history of them. Okay? Now, what do we see? The sun is in the 12th house in Gemini. You got a nice grand trine with Eris. And you got another trine to Venus.
Oh my gosh. That's, yeah.
You got Sun,
That's
Eris,
funny.
and Venus. That's really powerful. Okay. What do you got going on here? Very energetic. Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Aries. That means throughout your lifetimes, you've been very active, you've been very dynamic in the society. You've been just very dynamic. You're kind of keeping things to yourself personally, but you're really out there with people. This 7th house, 8th house is very heavy too. That tells me that you're probably in the midst of many years of being a counselor where you had really intense private consultations with people, probably a psychologist. That's what I'm sensing here. But you had to be very private about it. Down here at the bottom, we see Saturn and we see Eris, indicating how important it is for you to keep your home life at play. So what do we see going on in this chart? 0 degrees Cancer rising. We see 24 cardinal Pluto. So this Pluto is getting hit too, and so is this Jupiter. So this Jupiter and this Pluto are getting hit by transiting. Pluto is right there. Eris is right on here. So what's Jupiter square Pluto mean? Jupiter square Pluto is usually about power struggles. So it indicates to me that you're going to become cognizant in the next few weeks of how many power struggles you lived through many past lives that have caused you to take a life as you did in this life. Now, what you've got to really put your attention on, and I don't care how much time this takes, because this is important. When your moon in Cancer is being hit by Pluto and Eris, that means you're going to have to really investigate how safe am I and what cost am I paying to be safe? And what is safety? These are really big questions that we take for granted. What is safety? And as the greatest Cancer of them all, Helen Keller said, there's no such thing. She said, and she was blind and she couldn't speak, right? She said, there's no such thing as safety. All you could do is row the boat better than you did yesterday. But you're going to have to get out into the flow of things and row. See, our Cancer energy is got built-in traps like all of them do. And the Cancer energy will deceive you into staying home and holding on to the pole and doing my accounting because it's safe. I get a nice paycheck and I'm a year older. You see? Well, Pluto hitting that moon, and that's not why you're on the show.
Well, and that's funny that you say that because I'm really in a like nothing is safe right now. Like, and so, you know, nothing is, it's kind of like nothing is safe, everything is safe. Nothing is neither safe nor not safe.
And
you
what I've said for years is when a client doesn't say that's funny, that's when I start worrying. When a client does not say, yeah, it's funny, That means I'm not getting them. I'm not in sync with them. They're not in sync with the planets. But the fact is you are, because you said that's funny. Now, hear me clearly. I want you to stay close to your family. I want you to keep doing accounting if that's what you want to do. No, nobody telling you what to do. But what I'm saying is, emotionally, I think what you're trying to do now is solve emotional issues way before this lifetime. And what do we see in the past life? What do we see in the past life? Did you see what I saw? Look here again.
No, tell me what you saw.
Look here again. I know it's not easy. Here's the past life in general. You're very public, right? You got this consultation going on with all these people, I think. You really value the home life, etc. But where are you? You're hiding.
All alone.
You're hiding in the cave. Okay? You're doing all these things. You're very successful. You're very dynamic. People can't believe it, but you're hiding in a cave. Why are you hiding in a cave? There's only one reason to hide in a cave. Because you're a mammoth bear. There's a mammoth outside. You're hiding in a cave because you think it's safe. And what I'm gathering now from your chart, and I'm sure Shelley is zooming right in on this and see it. You're hiding in a cave because you thought it was safe. And for a long time it was safe. And it's not safe anymore.
Why is it not safe anymore?
I refuse to use the word but. Because it's not safe anymore because you can't breathe. You stayed in the cave for XYZ years for whatever XYZ reasons, and that was fine. And you needed it. But by the fact that you come on this show when Eris is squaring that moon, and Eris is all about, I want to stand up and be counted. Well, what did you do through your past life? You stood up, you did all these things, but you were never counted. You were never counted, and we cannot say that other people discounted you. You discounted you. That's what I see. And there's no criticism here because we all do what we can do when we can do it. I think that you're at the time period, it's really clear for you to come out of that 12th house and start to say, I can handle this world. I'm okay. I got the intelligence. I got the emotional intelligence. I can handle this world, and the time is right. You see, the reason I'm saying this is the big planets are big waves. And when you're out there with big waves, your boat's going to go a long way, or it's going to get flipped up and knocked around. And I can tell by your appearance on this show, you're not going to get flipped around. Not the ease, and I'm telling that by this factor. The ease with which you came on first, I met you. Oh, you're from Pittsburgh. What's your chart done? Okay. And then I did the rest of the show, ran out of time. I need somebody. Here you are. You see? And these some of the people turn the show on. These are the best parts of the show because you're seeing a human life changing. Do you understand me?
I do.
Now, you seem to be very, very intelligent, and I have a big blabbermouth. So why don't you ask me? I talk too much. I get excited. Ask me some questions about what's going on in your chart.
Well, why don't I talk about what's going on in my life, and then you can kind of maybe see like what's relevant or what's going on, or that would kind of work better that would work easier for me. There are Aries in my life all the time.
Aries people?
Aries. So I'm wondering, is there like a reason for that? Or
of course.
I don't know if you can talk about that.
Well, I think it's the 12th harmonic. I don't think it's other things. I think it's the prevalence of Mars. Mars is so prevalent here near the top of the chart. And I think what that means is this, very simple. I think, and you even look somewhat like an Aries/Gemini. which is a really good thing to know because you always be thin and you always look young. Um, Aries, I like the Aries energy with you because when you're out in the world, you're bold and you're taking action. You're bold, you're taking action. You like these people that don't hem and haw. They just get something to do, they go do it. You like that. But the moon in Cancer's got you hiding in the cave. The moon in Cancer back here. You guys do all this stuff, and I'll be out here, and my hologram will be dancing with you all, and we'll be burning campfires, and we'll be using the machetes in the woods. But I'll be back here separate emotionally. I'll be separate emotionally because of whatever reason. You got hurt, whatever the reason is. But now it's what I see, Michelle, is this. You're coming together. Watch here. Watch here. This is what's happening to you. This is what's happening to you. I mean, after many lifetimes, this is what's going on. You're fusing all that Aries part and all that stuff. You're going to rescue that damsel back in the cave. You bring her out and say, look, it's safe out here. Because the moon in Cancer is many things. And it's too much attention to put on in astrology about it being sensitive. The moon in Cancer is a wonderful place for the moon. The moon rules Cancer. It means you have a rich emotional life. It means you're very sensitive to women's issues. It means you might very well become a women's leader. You might even work for a women's group and do their accounting. I don't know, but it's going to turn feminine. It's going to, because Eris is the ruler of Libra, and she's wild. She's wild, and she's all about the divine feminine rising again. So let's go on to part two, what you were saying. That's why the Mars.
I'm sorry, say that again.
That's why the Mars. Your first question. So what are your other questions?
Yeah, I don't know. It was funny. I heard this woman, I was doing this yoga thing yesterday, and lately I've been studying, and it's kind of like, be a different person, and just, you need to be, the idea is, we can't change ourselves. We are who we are. So we need to kind of look spiritually to be changed. But this woman said something, not to aspire to be be a person that you are not, but embody the person you already are. And that really stuck out
Exactly. That's Uranus energy. Uranus is be yourself. It's kind of like a self that just keeps unfolding.
Right.
So when it's unfolding, it's becoming different. But is it still itself? The answer is yes and no. The lotus is always changing, right? But it's always the lotus. So, but you're exactly on track. I like what she's saying. And that's Pluto hitting your moon. And what is Pluto saying to your moon? It's saying, Mrs. Moon, we cannot just stay safe. We must continue to unfold. Right, Linda? I said that right. Yeah, she said that's right. Okay, are you married, Michelle?
So I just separated from my husband.
I'm sorry.
No, I am very happy about that. So
what sign is he?
He is an Aries.
Okay, well, the problem with Aries and you is you admire their freshness, you admire their courage, and they're not double-tongued. They say they're going to do something, they go do it, etc. But the problem with Aries is they make everything Aries centered. Everything's centered around them.
Yes, they're very.
And you see, you're more advanced than that with your Pluto. You need something deeper than that.
Well, and so very unexpectedly, a month after my husband leaves our house, I meet another Aries, and we are like soul, we are connected at the soul, no doubt about it.
Okay, the reason that's going on, there's no doubt in my mind through a lot of research. Did he come to you right away?
You mean like it was out of the blue?
You left one, the other one popped up.
Right. It was like, my husband moved out December 1st, and then this guy I met, January 28th. So like
Okay.
2 months later or
Okay,
something,
well, that's shocking. I'm shocked you didn't meet him December 2nd. I mean, when
Okay.
I was telling Shelley this, when you let go of your junk, it all pops up. It all starts working. Here's my kitty cat. When you let go of your junk, it all starts to work. So this is really, really, really good news. It's not good news for him, but this is not him getting the reading, but it's good news for you because your Aries was symbolic of you playing it safe.
Right.
It was very predictable.
I get along really well with Aries. My sister's an Aries, so I grew up with an
I
Aries who
did
is
too.
very,
I get along
just
same.
right, center of attention, and
Yeah.
and I learn a
The way,
lot from them, and I
the
feel
way you
comfortable
deal with
there.
Aries is you punch back. They want to fight, but people think it's a big deal. Moon and Cancer thinks it's a big deal. They don't do that. You fight, you get it over with. They
Right.
don't consider a fight a big deal. Get it out of
Well,
the
why
way.
am I meeting another Aries? It's dramatic. It's we should be together, we shouldn't be together, we should be together, we shouldn't be together. Like it's
You're
just so
needing an Aries.
dramatic.
You're needing an Aries because of your Pluto transit.
I-
This guy, when we have big transits, the transits move through people, and this guy probably has a big Scorpio representation in this chart. This guy's teaching you to love deeper. It's teaching you that you have feelings that are deeper. It's teaching you that you have deep courage that's deeper that you can call upon. That's what the Pluto transit's all about, and that's why the old Aries can't suffice you anymore.
I mean, my whole life is just, it's upside down. I'm a stay-at-home mother of a 3-year-old. But because I'm separating from my husband, I'm more interested in getting a job, and having a little bit more independence from my ex. I was all about, hey, find out who Michelle is, blah, blah, blah. And then I met this other Aries, and like you
You're going to continue. Don't get lost in them. You should get his chart done, and I will object with you. Your life is not becoming upside down. Your life is quickly becoming right side up.
correct. That's right. That's a more positive way of looking at it, because I'm very hopeful. I feel, despite all of these shakeups, I'm still, and I've always been like that. I've always been very calm, very kind of hold my emotions within. And though that's gotten in the way sometimes, generally speaking, is I just kind of remain calm and I get through, difficult
Okay,
things.
well,
Or
Michelle, how do you feel? How do you feel emotionally in this world? How do you feel? Do you feel that you can feel what you feel? Do you feel that you can be yourself?
yeah, I feel like I have always been myself. I don't feel like I ever had to answer to someone or be someone that I'm not, or, you know what I mean? I think people misinterpret that, but that's on them. But I have been kind of in the cave. I have been safe, or I have been alone. I have been
All right.
I don't put myself out there often.
Okay, now I want to stop this reading for a couple reasons. It's time to bring it to an end, but I also want to bring it to the end with you because I don't want you to be thinking about other things.
Okay.
Therefore, I want you to think about what matters. And what matters now is this. You've come on this show because Pluto / Eris are splitting your moon wide open. Okay? And I'm going to say this is the main point very clearly. You have played it safe for a long time. So when you look in this lifetime, you've played it safe only for a really brief, short time. Okay? You're turning all that around now. And you're also going through this opening up way before age 63. So I think you're in really good shape. The fact that you let go of one, you found somebody who's better for you is a really good sign. Your job change, you can take it or leave it whenever you do, whenever you don't. But the main thing is you got your eye on the fact that the moon needs to come out of the 12th house and start blossoming. Okay. It needs to come out and start living. And the way you do that is you draw on the courage that's inside. That's how Pluto works. If you go and you draw on the courage and you summon it for yourself, it all works. If you get chicken to do that, then you get a struggle. And I don't think you're going to have
Um,
Now, you'll have this video up on YouTube tomorrow. So if you didn't get everything written down, it will be there. I think it's episode 215 or something.
okay.
So you'll be able to look at it late tonight. It'll be up there. Okay.
Thanks. And then you had said something, you had said some like this, someone conquered the Gemini mind earlier.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Okay. The professor, David Hawkins.
Okay.
One's a sports figure. The other one's David Hawkins, the writer, the psychiatrist. He's dead now. He's from New York City. He started a hell of a spiritual movement in Sedona, Arizona. He wrote a lot of books. His most famous book was his first one called Power versus Force, which is about universal power versus ego power. Then he went on to write 8 or 9 other books, which are marvelous. I suggest any of his books. He has a lot of really nice videos.
I love that. I've been learning about ego a lot, so
Well,
that's right up my alley.
He's done a lot of really beautiful short videos on YouTube. Just type his name in. He's really brilliant. Now, what I mean is this: most Geminis don't have the ability to go real deep. Geminis are obsessed with what's called epistemology, and that's the study of how the mind works. That's why Geminis always say, you have not said this word once. Geminis always say the word interesting. You haven't used it once yet. I've been listening. Okay. But they always find things interesting, which is an indication that they don't want to go deep. They want to just keep it at arm's length. Oh, it's interesting. Oh, it's interesting. But you're much deeper. Now, what I meant by that was he went through absolute hell. He had a major spiritual awakening at age 7 and nearly froze to death in a snowstorm. He had cosmic experiences all throughout his life. He ended up a great meditator, a great spiritual teacher, and he just dug and dug and dug till he found out the way the brain works, the way the ego works, the way the ego tries to con you, and how to get in touch with the God inside. That's what his books are about. So
that's literally what I've been studying for the last 6-7 months.
Okay, well, this is
like that ego and that spirituality and how they're all the whole thing. That's funny.
There's no coincidence. Okay,
I love it. Yeah. Thank you.
You are
so just you're telling me like dig deep, find the courage, go for it.
Not only are those things absolutely true, but what I'm really here to say, and it's kind of shocking to a personality, your power is here. Your power is here.
It's a matter of figuring out what I want. I think that's the struggle. It's like, I'm so used to going with the flow that
you cannot figure out anything. That's your mom talking. You can't figure out things. The Holy Spirit does the figuring and lets you know about it. Okay. Tesla says we're only speakers. We're only receiving channels. It's a myth to think around it.
I love that you're saying that.
Huh?
I love that you're saying this.
You're going to sit around, think something, figure something out. No, you're not. It just happens. You're unfolding. Right. Listen to Hawkins, see what he says. I'll see you all next week, which is our channel to bitch and complain. Our opportunity to call and say, boy, those Libra women, I tell you about that. Boy, those Scorpio men, whatever, just call and just talk about signs that you have trouble with. 2 weeks from now, we'll see Liza Jane. Tonight, you'll see this up on YouTube, and I thank you all for being here. Thank you for being such a good sport, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. This was really great. Thanks.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much,
Michelle.
and we'll see you all very soon. Good night.
Michelle,
Good
thank
night.
you, Rick. Bye.
Good night.